Morning. I know that for some of you getting up this early was quite a challenge, so thank you. Impressive. Actually, this year I will not talk about technical topic about Zabbix features or roadmap or whatever. I'll try to talk a bit more about the process of making Zabbix, how to make it better, and a bit more about where we do that, how we do that. You might think that this overlaps a bit with Alexei's topic, and it actually does. There will be some very similar things right there, which might mean that we are starting to take quality more seriously as well. So, talking about quality, we love new features. We all love new features. Is here anybody who doesn't like new features in 2.0? No? Oh, there was one person, but I think he got scared when I looked in that direction, so that's good. We really like them, but do we like them better than having problems? So if we have a feature, but that feature introduces new bugs, is that good, bad, average? So yeah, adding new features adds bugs. We all hate bugs. Now I could probably ask whether anybody here loves bugs, but there probably will be somebody, so I'll not risk that. Sorry, we don't agree with you, even though it might not seem like that always. And Zabbix obviously has both. Let's talk about how it gets them, and then how maybe we can reduce the amount of the second category of the bugs. So features are added in Zabbix. As Alexei mentioned, the majority of the features are financed by somebody, so thanks everybody who was interested enough in Zabbix to get the company to finance a feature. Everybody else is thankful to you as well. The features that people want, they want things like simple things like gathering this value, gathering that value. Then somebody wants something more fancy. We might end up with kitchen sink, and we might end up with somebody asking for a pony on top of that. I hope Zabbix will not be like that, and so far the development process seems to indicate that it's not going in that direction. We try to keep things simple enough. Nevertheless, problems do creep in. So obviously these are bugs. Most of you probably know our issue tracker. There's unfortunately currently hundreds of open reports still. I'll talk about the improvement, well, not like increase, but decrease in that amount. And we also have something which is like features which are not always fully finished. You might see that they're kind of, they seem okay, but then when you actually try to use them in real life scenarios, in actual production environments, there's still something missing that you might think, how did they not think of that? How could they think it's useful like this? Let's see how that might happen. So, okay, any guesses what causes bugs? Who creates bugs? That was kind of obvious, right? I disagree. It's they're sort of like vehicle for bugs. There's probably something else that actually is responsible for bugs, and developers just end up being the first, like the scapegoat. Even the most brilliant developers will not be able to create a bug-free product. As long as it's something more complicated than Hello World application in a couple of languages. So there are different things around the development which will be sort of responsible for introducing bugs, for allowing the bugs to multiply, and you know, eventually they take over your house and throw you out. So the processes are quite important. Of course, the process should not be in the way of the development process itself. They should help developers. Also, it's quite important that not even the experience or maybe the brilliance is the important. It's the attitude, the experience, and the interest in what you're doing. Currently, what we are seeing every now and then is that Zabbix developers, they're creating a great product, but they're not using it, especially in large-scale environments themselves. They don't have the time for it. They have to develop the product for you. Currently, this is a bit of area where we are trying to increase their exposure. They're screaming and then kicking and so on, but we're trying to expose them more to you, to the community, also to the customers. And partially because of that as well, it seems like, hey, we'll develop that feature in a day, a week, and it turns out that just designing it might take a week, and then development, and then testing, and then actually, you know, fixing all the bugs, because we are actually now trying to fix bugs before we release the version to you. So the little small things nobody cares about, right? Yeah, like commit messages or code comments. Who needs them? Our code speaks for itself. Read the code. It's crystal clear. Who needs commit messages when you can look at a diff? Well, obviously not. And commit messages seem to be something that's not the hot topic at Zabbix, but also at other projects. And I'll tie that in the future slide, in the next few slides as well. Also. Attention to detail seems to be something that helps a lot, even if that detail might seem minor to some. The really famous trailing whitespace issue that you might see in some projects. If you look at Zabbix code now, you will see very little of that. So we are paying attention to detail. We're trying to be pedantic, and we're trying to actually think of every little detail that ends up in the code base. And obviously testing. Making sure that it's not just that, well, you report the bugs and then we sort of fix them. Also that the initial quality, the release actually is usable in production environments, scales well, has no serious problems. So before we unleash the version to you, it should be much better. Let's look at the topic about the commit messages. Let's look at a history of it. I looked at the SVN log and just a few examples how things went forward. Let's start with the very beginning. 2001. A commit message said some fixes. Okay, at least it's fixes. 2005, fixed bugs. Okay, that's better. It says what it fixed. Well, doesn't tell me anything, but nevertheless. 2008, misc bugs. Okay, so at least they were not the same. 2010, this one is a bit like disk triggers plus minus. I don't know, maybe it means that they kind of work, or we have no idea what it does. 2010 still bugs. I think it means that bugs were implemented. This is how we got them. There. We discovered the source. Well, redacted to protect the guilty. At some point we had commit messages going like this. There were supposed to be commit messages in there, and in there, and well, you know, everywhere. And it went on and on. Oh, there was one. Sync. Okay, thank you. Something was synced. Ah, yes. But think positive. We are improving, and actually we are improving quite rapidly in several areas. Sometimes we take the blunt approaches, like for example, now things like the trailing whitespace, new lines in files, the commit messages, we have a pre-commit hook. So at least the very basic things will not be done incorrectly by anybody, because you just can't do that. So if somebody new to the project would start looking at the code, looking at the code repository, I think they will see a much more pleasant picture now. And the commit messages are becoming better, and that is something I'm personally really happy about. I'd like to flash that at you once again. So commit messages are better. And especially for those who were, let's say, going to bed after yesterday's event. Here's one of the commit messages. You can try reading it, maybe if it's readable. I don't know how quickly you're going, but this is awesome. It tells what the developer did. It tells that in enough detail. It tells it in a language that idiot users like me can understand. It's awesome. I really like them, so there's one more. So it tells, again, in a lot of detail, that there was something about a composite dot in a key in JMX monitoring. There's a key example. It's multi-line commit message. I like that. Oh, I'm probably really weird. I like reading commit messages which are like this as well. So this one even tells me how it were operated before the fix and how it operates after the fix. Wonderful. Okay, I'll probably stop torturing you. If you'd like to read more of some of these, then you can look at SVN log yourself. So what are the benefits of having decent commit messages? Well, everybody benefits, obviously. One is that developers, when they are describing what they do, it kind of stimulates this thought process, and they rethink what they did, how they did it, why they did it, and oh, why did we do that? Sometimes. So the quality of the code of the architecture itself will be improved. Other developers can much more easily follow the process. Code does not speak for itself unless you're really writing something very simple. Users also can follow the process. That is very helpful, because first, developers can see much more easily that maybe there's a logic mistake right there without reading like a diff of 1,000 lines. And for users, that is helpful because, especially for those who are really putting time into their Zabbix installation, especially in larger environments, you will be more aware of the problems. You will know where to expect the problems, and you will know maybe that your version has something in some specific case, which might save you quite some time of debugging as well. The users that can follow the process, I get a bit smarter from reading those messages. Well, it's not kind of hard, but thanks to developers who write the good commit messages. I really like that topic, so there's a project called KDE. It's kind of desktop environment. Some of you might have heard of it. And they had a conference in Tallinn in Estonia this year. So what they were talking about is they have something called Weekly Digest, which is information about all the commits that have been made in the KDE repository. So but they don't do it just by looking at the version control logs. They actually have a special tool for this called Enzyme, and their users in a very simple web interface just go like, I like this commit message, it's understandable. This one says bugs, downvoted. So that software obviously is open source as well, and I don't know whether we have large enough interest in what developers do from the community, from you that is, but if we have, we might look into this, maybe put up a tool like this, and somebody can, you know, go in and like go, good comment, bad comment. If anybody is interested, then, well, maybe not right now, but catch me later, or either somewhere on the premises or on IRC or anywhere else. Let's talk about this, and maybe we can get you going with that. So yeah, the quality, that's the ongoing topic. Quality matters, it's important. Of course, the overall quality is important. The releases, especially the major releases, the stable releases, well, we call them stable, and usually they are. But the quality of the development branches is also very important. That is currently what we are trying to do. We are trying to keep the main branches, let's say 2.0 branch, trunk, and so on, as stable as possible. So in general, theoretically, you should be able to use a branch like that in a system, and it should always work. And even have some new nice features as well. That has several benefits. One is that if we keep the branches stable, that might motivate more of you to run it, to use it, which means that, well, we get just more testers. Another benefit is that the feedback will be much faster. If we break something, and you, being the branch user, you discover that sooner, it's much easier to fix right away. Faster feedback, better. And overall, the quality of the release product will be better. One side effect of keeping the branch stable is that we don't have this rush of bug fixing before the release. So let's say we do some development, that's fancy, that's great, and then now, okay, now everybody fixed the bugs. Oh, just finding them might take a long time. And then one bug will be masking like tens of others. So I think this process of keeping the main branches stable is, and bug-free as much as possible is helping with the final releases a lot. How do we do that? To expand a bit on the process, for quite a long time now, all development happens in a separate development branch. It does not happen on trunk or version branches anymore. All the changes are committed in this branch only. Only after the branch has been fully finished, only then it's merged back. Another benefit is that if you would like to test some specific feature while it's still in development, that's possible. All these branches, the same as everything else, code-wise, is available publicly in the SIA repository. So you're welcome to test these as much as possible. When developers fix the issue or implement some new feature, they will mention the development branch URL in the issue, so you can just easily check it out and test it. Before the branch is merged, the branch is undergoing a code review by another developer, and well, sometimes it will be quick, and sometimes we will see in the issue all this process is fully open as well. You will see that the issue goes forth, back, until it actually is properly done. And of course, testing happens both by those involved in the review, and we also have an automated test system. It's currently based on Hudson, which then forked to Jenkins and whatnot. But we are running the Hudson still. It's not public at this time, but we do have these automated unit tests. The tests themselves, actually, by the way, they are in the code, so if you'd like to look at them in a way and maybe get involved in that process, that's fully possible, and nothing of that is hidden. Another area which seemed to cause a lot of work for developers, and well, obviously the more work they have on the same thing, the more likely they're introduced to bugs, was that we didn't have any full specifications in many cases. Because we discussed something, then something was developed, and then something was forgotten, something turned out not to be that well described, so it had to be redeveloped. So now we're doing the proper cycle of writing these specifications. This is something Alexei had a screenshot of as well. What I have here is the specification for the already advertised automatic database upgrade coming into the 2. And I think it's pretty complete. Again, these are fully public, so you can take a look at them before they're finalized or even after that. Point out any really large omissions we have made, any mistakes that we have there. Maybe there's something in your environment that we didn't think about. It's likely. By the way, yeah, that reminds me that our front-end developer Pavels, he put up some API proposal, and I think he got like 2 responses or something like that in total. So we kindly ask you all to help us and help yourselves by communicating with us. And another thing is that actually having the specifications also helps with the quality itself, and it also helps with the documentation. Documentation being also a long-term interesting topic regarding Zabbix. It has been improving rapidly. There's really now lots of quality documentation in the Zabbix manual, and the specification is very helpful, because now once there is a specification, the documentation can be written by nearly anybody just from this document. Another point for better commit messages is that they also help to improve the documentation. If the commit message actually describes the feature, if it describes the fix, that allows, again, pretty much anybody to take a look at that and then decide what and where must be documented. Whether it's upgrade notes, for example, maybe there's some new limit, maybe there's some feature which is understandable from the commit message alone. Another thing is that, yeah, so documentation will be improved by better commit messages, by writing specifications, and something which I don't know how many here are developers or involved with developers, but discussions going every now and then at the Zabbix Office are about, should developers write anything about documentation? Yes, they should. The documentation written by developers will not be perfect in most cases. It doesn't have to be. The documentation written by developers is initial step so that somebody else can build on top of that. There's nobody else better than the developers who could write the initial documentation. If somebody else would have to read the code and then write a documentation from that, that's not working. And then they will have to they will need coder skills anyway, so they should be just coding anyway. So initial description, and then somebody else builds on that, which is something that the specifications and commit messages can actually fulfill that role in many cases. And of course, if developer says that they cannot describe what they did they understand what they did? That makes me kind of a bit not really trusting that development anymore. And yeah, we had some discussions. Of course, most of that is really legacy code, like 10 years old, and nobody has touched it for a long time. But sometimes we have a discussion like, okay, what does this piece of code do? Like, no idea. And the running joke is there a code comment? But there's less and less code like that. It's being rewritten, it's being cleaned up, and it's actually being commented. So we have less scary parts in the code now. Documentation and users. So citing the Zabbix front and developer files again, everything should be documented, duh. This should be a top priority because without proper documentation, everything else we do is virtually pointless. And I think we should probably print this out in this size and then just hang somewhere in the office. I don't know the copyright on this, so but maybe you can borrow it. You should ask the author. Yeah, I think that is driving the point. Yeah. Another area where users sometimes go like, oh, developers, they just don't get it. What the hell was that? Is the usability, it's the discoverability of features and so on. Part of that is, of course, this exposure to the real-world environments. Should developers use their product? I would say they probably should at least try to use it at least a bit. Their own dog food thing and everything else. Not using the product will make you think that, okay, the timestamps which start with date are really fine. No, they're not. Just try using it together with other systems. Try to correlate data from different systems, try to sort it, and the time you will waste on that will make you like, okay, we flipped the date format, that's it. Nevertheless, we don't have these large-scale environments. We don't run large-scale Zabbix installations ourselves. That's what many of you do. So your feedback is very, very helpful. The second time, the sooner you provide feedback to us, the better. So if you are involved, if you follow the process, then you are better equipped to actually provide this feedback. Try out the development branches, especially try out the release candidates. We had a discussion yesterday with somebody, I'm a bit fuzzy with whom exactly, who was like, oh, I upgraded to 2.02 and then this broke. And I was like, yes, well, we didn't test it, sorry, but you didn't test it either. So, yeah, testing helps. And something which is maybe more for those who have been involved in financing a feature, and this is the process we are trying to follow as well, be involved. Take a look early at the changes, provide your feedback, then the feature you will receive will be more what you actually expected. So that's helpful. Yeah, talking about large-scale environments. We do not have a Zabbix database of what, more than 200 gigs. Some users do.
Just truncate the table.
That's not truncating the tables is not an upgrade. But it will help in a way. It's like, I don't know, Hammer helping for hurting head or some, it's a bit in that direction. But yeah, so that feedback actually is very helpful, very useful. Sometimes it's painful, but yeah. Alexei, for the second time in a row, the same topic was also touched the last year, that is. He mentioned this bug-free, zero-bug policy. What do you mean, no bugs? But the figures might differ a bit because, well, the amount floats up and down, and then it depends how you measure it in our issue tracker. But at some point, we had around 800 open bug reports, the unresolved ones. When I looked like 2 days ago or so, we had something a bit about 500. So this process of working on bugs and actually trying to reduce their amount is really helping. So thanks to all the developers. They're somewhere in here, most of them. Take care of them. Don't abuse them. So they managed to reduce this. Okay, maybe that second column shouldn't be green yet, but it's kind of going in that green direction, down, down, down. What else we can do to improve the quality? Well, obviously we can have more unit tests, we can have more test procedures, test scenarios, the automated part, which we are sort of working on. We can also benefit from your feedback again. And in addition to the bug-free policy, I would think that no regression policy would be also a pretty nice one. I don't know about users, but if I would be a user, I would be sad by a regression. And I'd like to quote somebody else now. So it goes like this. Breaking the user experience in order to fix something is a totally broken concept. You cannot do it. If you break the user experience, you may feel that you have fixed something in the code. But if you fixed it by breaking the user, you thought the code was more important than the user, which is not true. So despite every code line that's in Zabbix, every feature, well, bugs, whatever, it's you that matters, the users. Without you, there is no Zabbix. Without users, there is no point for any software product. So we probably should try very hard to think about how you use it when you suffer and when you're happy. Yeah, that was by a guy called Linus somewhere. I've mentioned the community quite a lot, and another topic I'd like to say is a huge thank you to some part of the community called translators. They are really awesome. And yeah, let's do this now. I probably won't be calling the names because I might forget somebody or something, but there's lots of you in the room here. So yeah, thank you personally, and thank you to those who are not here. And for 2.03, which is our upcoming version, which is not out yet, you could expect this year. Oops. That was almost a promise. Well, okay, it should be out sooner. But for the first time, we have full 6 translations at 100%. Okay, one is the English United States, which is not that hard to create. But the other ones, I think that's a huge amount of work, and it's really impressive that we have this. And lately we have a really larger amount of users who are interested in translating Zabbix. So if anybody here would like to do that, again, bug me, catch me somewhere, and then we'll arrange things and you can get started. You don't have to do the full translation like today. You can do that like in small pieces, like one phrase, another phrase, and so on. Make it like a phrase a day or something like that, something like some process. Moving a bit away from the procedures, quality, and then community as well, a bit about the Zabbix Office, because that might give you some idea about the people behind the code as well. Who from here visited Zabbix Office when you had the chance? What was it, yesterday or day before? Anybody visited the Zabbix Office? Yeah. Well, not that many, but some, what, 10 people maybe. Zabbix Office, interestingly, is split up in 2 halves. So we have the developer half and the other half. It's like marketing, sales, that stuff. It's like day and night, and then black and white and evil. And, oh, sorry, I got carried away there. It's not that bad. We actually even visit the other room every now and then, so it's allowed officially. When you enter the Zabbix Office, you will see that it's pretty quiet, with some exceptions. There are some rowdy guys, you know, like chatting every now and then maybe shouting at each other, but that's very, very little, really. Every now and then we have this like foam stress ball. They sometimes fly around on their own. We don't know how that happens. It's probably something to do with the area that the house is built on. But that's about it. So compared to some other places I've seen, we are a really, really quiet bunch. When you go in the Zabbix Office, the first thing you will see will be this wall. So, hey, we have a red wall. It's like you get impressed right away. Don't you, right? That's hey, nice. And a picture that you already saw actually from the Alexei's talk. That's these boards of post-it notes, or they have, unfortunately, the darker ones, those are bugs. The other ones are not so bad. But they kind of migrate from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, like birds a bit. Similar as birds, sometimes some of them like fly off from the board. So if you think that your issue is forgotten, maybe it just fell off the board. It actually has happened at least once. It kind of works. At least developers move the pages around. On the left-hand corner that you cannot see in this picture, there's actually something like this. So the quality, yeah, we're trying to improve it, and that's like in your face, right there on the wall. So everybody sees like how we did it this week. Did we get more open bug reports, or did we get less of them? Of course, it started. The number started here with this initiative to improve things and find duplicates, close them, find the incorrect reports, and so on. It continued kind of, and well, yeah, Alex, I mentioned that this is partially because of the 2.0 branch being frozen. So we have issues sort of resolved, but they're not closed yet because they have to be merged. And of course, we all were really busy getting ready for this event as well. So we have lots of excuses here for that last number. Interesting thing is that our issue tracker, Jira, I couldn't find their feature to show the amount of open issues over time, because I would really love to see myself how we've been doing this over years, not just the last few weeks. If anybody knows how to get that in Jira, please let me know, without looking in the database, that is. Another topic is that you might have seen remarks that voting on ZBX Next on the feature requests is pointless, like nobody looks at them, the votes are there to be ignored. As mentioned, that's not really true. Several of the things that are at the top voted feature requests are being looked at and fixed and implemented. In the Zabbix Office, you can also see, well, it's kind of not really very active project, but there's a page showing you the top 20 ZBX Next issues, and showing like how many votes they received in the last report and how they moved around the top 20. So if you would like to get involved, then yeah, your vote might even count a little bit. So overall, thank you everybody, and I'll be floating away shortly, but before I do that, or before they turn off this thing, this is a graph that actually was showing last year as well, which is the amount of the users in the Zabbix IRC channel on Freenode, and it's been growing. This graph is currently showing like 6 years and 3 months. It's nice that I can draw it in Zabbix. It's instant. That's really cool. And the great thing is that I put this artistic line here. That's the last year, like the new year. So it's actually, I think at the conference we were somewhere here probably, and we've been growing quite rapidly. This is just the increase in this year alone. So thanks everybody. I think we have a pretty large amount of people who are also on the IRC here. I don't know what they're saying there right now, because most of them are on the IRC. They're like addicts, like, well, me as well. So yeah, thanks everybody.